Jai Gajanan. Ganeshaya Namastubhyam, Herambai Ekadantini, Swanandavasini Tubhyam, Brahmanaspataye Namaha. So we shall continue with where we left off the previous session. With my humble pranams to all Paramacharyas, Acharyas and Gurus. Let us continue into the Jnana Sara. Now Shiva is surrounded by Karthikeya, Sanaka and others, and they were listening to him narrate about the various scriptures, about who composed which Veda, Ithihasas, Puranas, Mimamsas and others. Now Sanaka is asking Shiva, Savitri, mother of Vedas, resides in the Sauraloka, that is Surya Mandala. She is the bestower of divine light as the principal queen of Ganesha. Vedic scholar Sage Vashishth said, Prabhu, it is said that Siddhi Buddhi are Ganesha's Shaktis. There are also doubts regarding his birth. Tell us about that, Shiva. Shiva replied, Ganesha, who is the lord of Svananda Loka, is the embodiment of the Mahavakya, whose letter Gang. Gang is the seed letter of the single lettered mantra of Ganesha. His form of Pranava with attributes and without attributes has been glorified in the Vedas. His form with attributes is indicated by the dot in Om, by the dot, and his form without attributes is Shunya or nothingness. He resides in Svananda Loka with attributes and without attributes, and the single letter is Shakti of Pranava. Now, this Bindu is Ganesha's form with qualities, that is, with attributes. This fourfold world of this Jagat has manifested from as a sound form from that Pranava, which is made up of the letters A, U, Ma, and whose form is this world as it is. And he is the Turya state of all these fourfold forms, and he is known as Pancham Brahma. And as Pancham Brahma, he is also known as Ganesh. And because Ganesh is similar to Ganesh, that it is interchangeably used as Ganesh also. With the passage of time, we've been using it as Ganesh. Gayatri is the mother of Vedas and Pranava is the father. The Vedas too proclaim that Brahmanaspati Ganesha, who is the lord of Brahmas, and his Shakti is the Veda Mata. He is Buddhi's husband, residing in the cave of the intellect as memory. He controls the Buddhi and he is Lord of Buddhi, and he is addressed as Gananayaka. Buddhi exists as light within the Atma, inspiring right attitude for the flow of intellectual energy. Vedas and Vedamata meditate on the meaning of the word of Gayatri mantra of the Lord in their Atma, which is Ganesha Brahmanaspati. Since Gayatri was first said by Brahmanaspati Ganesha, whose nature is Omkar, he is called Gayatri's husband. Or he is a creator, or he is the one who manifested Gayatri by reciting it, by saying it in the form of sound, and that is why he is called as Gayatri's husband. He resides in the world equipped with a body as the fourfold form of the universe. We shall see what is this fourfold form in some time. Now he is pleased with the munis who are absorbed in Ganesha is always pleased, enthralled when munis chant the Gayatri mantra with understanding its meaning. Gayatri is the mother of Vedas, has a position of a queen in Swananda palace. She lives there playing with Siddhi Buddhi's husband. The palace of Mahakailash, which is Shiva's abode, is at the head of the universe, while the palace in Mahakailash, which is the abode of Shiva, on the northern side is the Swananda palace, or it is the Swarga Swananda, where once Shiva and Parvati, when he had incarnated as Ganesha in their house, they requested him that please don't go back. And so they created a palace in Mount Kailash, in Kailash itself, on the northern side, and that is known as Swargaswananda. Maya manifests as the Mahat Ahankara. Mahat Ahankara, that is from that Mahamaya, the first thing that manifested was the sense of I. And that sense of I, the Mahat, that which is there in the universe. Now, this Mahat Ahankara, it is there at all stages. At the macrocosmic level, it is called Mahat Ahankara, or the sense of I. And that sense of I percolates down in every creation, and that is why we also have a sense of I. Emerging from the Supreme, she enters creation in the subtle form. Now, the four states of existence are the awakened state, dream state, deep sleep state, and Turiya state. So these are the four states of existence, and each state is, there is a Lord or Ishvara for Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turyavastha. And when the Turya of all these four states are in their Turya form, or the unmanifest form, that is the state of Pancham, that is Ganesha. So Brahma exists in the waking state, Vishnu or Hari exists in the dream state, Rudra or Shiva exists in the deep sleep state, and Ganesha bears the Turya state. Ganesha, the Brahmanaspati Ganesha, is beyond all these three states, all these five states, beyond even the Turiya state. Brahma was originally, Brahmadeva was born, actually here, when initially at the beginning of creation, it is addressed as Brahma. And subsequently, it became Brahmadeva when Brahma again manifested from the Nabhi of Vishnu. Initially, Brahma came out of, that is Purusha and Prakriti. That was the original Brahma, which was subsequently replaced by the term Ganesha. And as when Shiva appointed Ganesha, his son, as the lord of all the Ganas, so he became Ganapati, and so that same title is attributed to Brahma, Brahmanaspati Ganesha. So that is how the Brahmanaspati Ganesha came into being. Otherwise, initially it was Brahma before all these four Ishwaras came into being. So Brahma was initially born with a Rajasic nature. He was born, Brahmadeva was born as a Rajasic, with Rajasic nature from the Nabhi of Vishnu. Vishnu is Sattvic in nature. Rudra is Tamasic in nature, while Shakti has all these qualities, is basically endowed with all three qualities, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And it is she whose various permutations and combinations exist in the various forms of the world. And Surya is the sense of I, the I-ness, which is there in all of us, that is the doership, the sense of when we do something, we feel that I'm doing it. So that sense of I-ness that comes, that is of Surya. Shakti expresses as the world. Everything in nature, what we see is Shakti, is the world. Ravi expresses as the Jiva in the Shakti, that is Jivatma. Vishnu is the sustainer of the world. Rudra is the witness of the world. Brahma, initially I said Brahmadeva, the name got substituted later in the scriptures, but initially Brahma, as the Lord of gods, is Siddhi Buddhi's husband. Shakti expresses as this world, while Surya is in the solar galaxy. Ravi, that is Surya, that is the Hiranya Purusha or the cosmic intelligence, who is the primordial deity of the cosmos, exists as the Atma in the Jivas. Shakti is also present in the cosmic cosmos. The Vedas speak of three classes of being that emerged from Pranava. They are endowed with the three gunas, and these are the and there are these Ishwaras representing each one of them. That is Brahma for Rajas, Vishnu for Sattva, and Shiva for Tamas. As the doer of all these gunas, when actions are performed within the embodiments of all these gunas, the sense of doership comes from Surya. And Surya is located in the center of the universe as Pranava, whose Atma is Shakti, and that is Gayatri, who is a mother of Vedas. With passage of time, that Shakti assumed four forms as Sati, of whom the god mother of Vedas is called Savita. Paramatma is said to have, now some terminologies, some statements here will be different from what is mentioned in our other scriptures, mainly because this was in the first kalpa of creation. This gives knowledge of even earlier kalpas, the initial kalpas of existence. So at that time, the same Surya Gayatri, what we know, Gayatri mantra, they were known with the higher powers, with a higher status and standing in the initial stages of creation. Paramatma is said to have envisioned that mantra as Gayatri mantra during Mantra Kalpa. Now, when we look at our present scriptures, we say Valmiki was the one who Valmiki or Vishwamitra. No, Valmiki, I think he visualized the Gayatri mantra. Sorry, Vishwamitra, he visualized the Gayatri mantra and he chanted it so many lakhs and crores of times, and he became the embodiment of that. That's how he got the position as a Brahmin's position. So this came subsequently, where after the in the later parts of creation. But initially, Paramatma himself visualized the Gayatri mantra, and during Mantra Kalpa, when the Mantra Kalpa was when Ganesha himself was giving the scriptures as Mahavakyas. The 114 cryptic statements came as sound forms of Mahavakyas. And then during that Mantra Kalpa, he appointed Ganesha and Surya as deities of Gayatri Mantra. He was born as Amba's son, in whom Dinanayaka Surya, is reflected as his Atma. He became a special Purusha as the Surya's rays brought Ganesha back to life. As one who regulates time, Kala, Dinanayaka maintains the momentum of this world, and because of him, the universe regulates itself by itself. As an ansh of Ganesha, Surya is Savitri's husband, and worshippers of Surya are called Sauras according to Shrutis and Smritis. Worshippers of the Lord of Svananda, husband of Siddhi and Buddhi, are called Ganapas, who are Brahmins. Ganeshas, as bearer of Brahma, are considered superior to Sauras. Then Sanaka is asking, what did Vishnu, who gave birth to Brahma, tell Rudra? What did Vishnu, who gave birth to Lord of Gauri, that is Rudra, that is Shiva himself, tell Brahma? What did Govinda, who gave birth to Brahma, tell Rudra? The same question he has worded in three different ways. Please tell me that same philosophy which removed all of their doubts. So Shiva replies, as creation passed through various kalpas, different paths came into existence. Kalpas are of four types. The main kalpa was of one type, a main kalpa which has a certain definite characteristics, and it is divided into six subordinate kalpas. 12 connected kalpas and 16 intermediate kalpas. So one Mahakalpa consists of the 6 subordinate kalpas, 12 connected kalpas and 16 intermediary kalpas. So this one Mahakalpa extends from the first to the last with all these big and short kalpas in between. There is one Brahma who holds the position throughout a Mahakalpa. The self-knowing Supreme Brahma is of the form of Mahavakya, who became two. That is, this Supreme Paramatma Brahma, he wanted to know himself, and so that desire to know created a reflection, and from that reflection emerged all the Mahavakya. And it became two for the purpose of creation in this world. That two is Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is consciousness, who was without attributes, and the other is Prakriti, whose form is, in the initial stage, it was in the Turiya Avastha, unmanifest state. So, enchanted by the causal nature, the Lord became subject to her. That is, Purusha became attracted to Prakriti, fascinated by her arts, although he himself remained devoid of enchantments. This enchantment became the various, out of this enchantment towards each other, intermingling with each other, became various forms. That with form is called saguna, that is with attributes, and the formless is known as nirguna. Brahma united with Prakriti is saguna, and we know that Maya is consciousness, conscious matter. So Gananayaka is the Bindu in the Omkar, who assumed the form of Mahamaya, and which in turn assumed the three gunas and then became the various forms of the world through various permutations and combinations. There is no creation without these three qualities. The Vedas say that creation happens with the union of Maya alone. Maya is born from a predominance of pure sattva, Shuddha Sattva Maya, and according to Vedas, having become Brahma, he himself gets reflected in them as Ishvara. Maya is, as we saw, is a reflection, and that reflection had these three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which in turn was each guna was attributed to one of the Ishwaras. Brahma with Rajoguna, Vishnu with Sattva Guna, and Shiva with Tamo Guna. And Ganesha is the unmanifest, when the unmanifest form, in the unmanifest state, he is known as Ganesha, and that is the Pancham. And Shakti is all these gunas. So guna, the fact, that is why every Ishvara has a Shakti. And that Shakti, the form of that Shakti is the guna of that Shakti. So when both gets connected, Ganesha becomes Triguneshwar. Connect. Now each of the jivas, the individual souls are connected to that Ganesha, because Ganesha is the Atma in the, it is because of Ganesha's presence, that is that conscious matter that enlivens all the jivas. In his unmanifest state is called the Turiya Purusha, and he's also known as Pancham, who emerged from that Gananayaka. So, from the Turiya state, when he gets enlivens these forms, the Surya, which becomes the sense of I or doership, gets activated in each of the jivas. In the unmanifest form of creation, the main thing is knowledge of the Srishti. So, in the unconscious, from the unmanifest, that is ignorance, what manifests is knowledge of Srishti. So, endowed with the 5 kinds of decisive knowledge, Maya is pure sattva in nature. Now, the Brahmadeva, who is also known as Vibhu, the creator aspect of Ganesha, he embodied all these 5-fold intelligence. Brahma emerged from his Nabi, that is navel. Vishnu emerged from his mouth. Rudra was born from above. Shakti was born from his left side, and Surya manifested from his right side. And each of them is Ganesha's expression of deep sleep, dream, and waking states. So, in the process of creation, Gunapa or Ganesha created the 5 gods serially, each of whom in turn created the world according to whatever duties they were assigned. In this nature, in this process of creation, the most important aspect was creation itself, that is of Vidhi or Brahmadeva. And according to the experts, this creation happened according to the Vedas. Whatever Veda Vakya, the sound form which emerged from Ganesha itself was like a manual of instructions for Brahmadeva for creation. And all the 4-fold forms of this are subject to destruction. Maintenance is done by Vishnu. It is subject to destruction also, which is taken care of by Shiva. It is said that the earliest kalpa was Vinayaka kalpa. That is why we have the scripture known as Vinayaka Rasyam. So, from the name of the scripture itself, we can sort of deduce from there that this was almost the historical facts of the earliest stages of creation. As we saw, after every kalpa, there are rishis and munis who write down records of that kalpa, the events, major events that happened during the kalpa, which are kalpa shastras. So Vinayaka Rahasya, so the earliest is Vinayaka kalpa, where Maya and Prakriti are both gross and subtle equally. That is, the gross form of Maya and Prakriti, that is this world, are both gross and subtle. Means they are both present in the gross form as well as in the subtle form. The unmanifest is called Purusha or consciousness, and Guneshwara is the creator in all the three worlds, each of which are subject to destruction and creation during the remaining kalpas. So it is well known that there are five kinds of decisive knowledge of the Vedas in each of the subordinate kalpas. Which are those? This happens when Gananayaka sees the world. So when Gananayaka, the supreme Brahma, who came to who later has been given this name of Gananayaka. This Gananayaka, initially when he saw the world or he visualized the world through his left eye. This happens when the Gananayaka visualizes this world or this cosmos through his left eye daily. Shakti herself becomes the word of creation of that Lord. This kalpa was called Bhuvaneshi Mahakalpa. This was followed by the second kalpa, that is when Vignanayaka looks through his right eye, through Surya, and he became the creator of the world as Purusha, that is consciousness. See, each of these kalpas are thousands and thousands or lakhs of years. It's not that it just happens overnight or he just opens the eye and the creation happens. No, it takes a long period of time. This kalpa is known as Aditya Kalpa. He looks at Purusha through the middle eye with a slightly partial vision. So also Narayana became the threefold form of this world as creator, and this kalpa is Shiva is telling, and this kalpa I recall having heard being called as Bhuti Vishnu kalpa. So we had the Vinayaka Kalpa, then we had the Bhuvaneshi Mahakalpa, then we had the Aditya Kalpa, and then came the Vishnu Kalpa. When full vision from the middle eye falls on the Purusha or consciousness, the unmanifest Shiva destroys the world. So this kalpa came to be known as Bhuti Shambhu Kalpa. So these are glances or visions of Ganesha himself, the Brahmanaspati or Gananayaka, Gananayaka. In each of these considerably long period in which this cosmos evolved from its unmanifest state. Ganesha may look at Purusha, that is consciousness, with all the three eyes. In such times, Ganesha himself creates the five gods from Purusha of the Supreme who created this world through the power of his own vision. I remember having heard this kalpa being called as Ganeshwara kalpa, when the single Ganesha became the five gods, the five Ishwaras. The 12 connected kalpas mainly set in motion the Atma of the four gods or the four Ishwaras in the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, and sleep and deep sleep state in the gross, subtle, and equanimous body, Samabrahma. Along with now, each of these states had a gross body, that is a deha, a form. Because unless you have a form, there cannot be a name for that form. So there's always a name for a form. So they assumed forms which were known as dehas, and the dehi is the turiya form. That is, when it is unmanifest, it is known as turiya. So it's known as dehi also. So deha, dehi. Deha, before creation, Gunapa became the three dehas. The three dehas, that is your waking dream and deep sleep, or Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. These three dehas, initially they were Purusha, that is consciousness. From consciousness, their gross aspect manifested. So, as a support of the three gunas, because when they were assigned the gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, they became bearer of the three gunas, these three Ishwaras, in this waking world of creation. This waking world of creation occurred in the Kalpa. This Kalpa was known as Kalpa in the Vedas, which came to be divided into 12 divisions with the passage of time. Paramatma Vinayaka, he was spurred by the desire for companionship, or the desire to know himself. So he created a reflection, and then he used that reflection. That reflection itself created a reflection of itself and became Mahamaya. And together, Ganesha and that Mahamaya created from their union of the bodies this Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. And each of them were independently entrusted with the administrative function of creation, sustenance or nourishment, and destruction. During the Sattvic period, initially it was Shuddha Sattva period, that is, the quality, the predominant quality in the whole of the universe was Sattva. So at that time, Ganesha's mere glance could awaken the gross body, the Jagrat Brahma, Jagat Brahma, and who manifested as Parashiva spontaneously, because Sattva was very pure at that time. And from his left side, Vishnu manifested, and from the right side of Paramatma manifested the four-faced one, that is Mahadeva, Rudra, and Shiva. During Ganesha's Rajasic period, the four-faced Ishvara which was born was Hari was born from the region between the eyebrows on his face. Similarly, during Ganesha's Tamasic period, Rudra Pitamaha manifested from the center of the Nabhi region of Janardana. All four were created by Vinayaka during Vinayaka Kalpa for the purpose of creation, without whose vision this world would not have existed, nor the Vedas of the yogis. So Guneshwara is the causal body for the birth of all three in this animate and inanimate world, that is creation, sustenance, and destruction. The father had assigned specific tasks of the work of creation to the three Brahmas, namely Brahmadeva for creation, that is, at that time he was called Brahma for creation, its nourishment to Hari, and the destruction to Rudra. One who is jealous towards another has excessive desires or greed. If any one of them became excessively greedy or jealous of another, they had to do penance. And then when they did penance, when Ganesha was pleased, then he would grant them knowledge of further knowledge to go about their work. So that is how even the initial stages, the gods had done a lot of penance. Brahma, Narayana, and Rudra, created in the earlier Kalpa, get absorbed at the time of annihilation and are once again born as Brahma, Rudra, and Vishnu when the world is created. From Kalpa after Kalpa, there have been several Brahmas, Vishnus, and Maheshwaras. There is rebirth and destruction of each other as an ongoing process between intermediate kalpas as actions and cause of actions. Within creation, before creation of a woman, Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, Surya were established in the Turiya Avastha, that is, unmanifest state. Ganesha was in the form of the intelligence, just the knowingness from whom the Munishwaras were formed, were born. Other creations were then came one by one through different combinations of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and they manifested as an ansh of Ganesha, a single part of Ganesha along with the three gunas. We shall look into further aspects of this conversation in the next session. As what Pancham Gajanana replied now, Pancham Gajanana, Guneshwara himself replies when Sanaka asked the question about Pancham Gajanana, Shiva replies about this Guneshwara. We shall see that in the next session. Jai Gajanan.